With Justin Steele out for the season, are the Cubs in the mix for an ace? And do we know who that could possibly be? And what would that trade look like? We're going to talk about that on today's show. This bullpen, yeah, we're going to have to talk about that. Could the Cubs or should the Cubs extend Pete Crow-Armstrong? And one of our old friends, Kris Bryant, dealing with yet another injury. All that on today's show and more. Cubs and Padres later tonight. Like, subscribe, and thumbs up. Let's get this show started. Go Cubs, everybody. What do you say, guys? Mick Gillespie at Broadcaster Mick on the socials, and coming at you again from an undisclosed location, not my studio, but doing a show for you because that's what we do every day. At least we try to, right? All right, lots to talk about today, and this is an area where I feel like I've got some expertise, and that is, well, should the Cubs make a trade, and then who would they give up in a potential trade? And it really started with Bob Nightingale, who's one of the best in the business, tweeting out that the Cubs would be at the top of the list to replace Justin Steele, who's out for the season, with Sandy Alcantara. He pitches for the Marlins. He is one of, baseball's best available pitchers, just because the Marlins aren't any good. But he's a former NL Cy Young Award winner. And to a lot of people, they feel like, you know what, this guy might be the target for the Cubs. The Marlins aren't any good. They'd love to get some value for a pitcher, and the Cubs are going to need a pitcher unless somebody steps up. And we talked about that yesterday on the show. The need for a trade like this could be eliminated if Javier Assad comes back and has a good year. Jordan Wicks does his thing. Obviously, Cade Horton is someone that you could count on. If you could get anything out of those guys, Colin Ray steps up and has a career year. But they're not aces yet. Maybe Horton being the guy that could possibly be at the top of that list if he reached his full potential. We've seen how good Wicks can be, but he's in the minor leagues right now. Anyway, at the end of the day, there is a possibility that the Cubs go out and make a trade, and then you start talking about who would you trade in this deal. If the Cubs trade Owen Caissie, which I see his face and I hear his name, and they don't re-sign Kyle Tucker, then this whole front office needs to be fired. Get them all out, because you can't give up a guy that's going to be your future for to rent a pitcher and then not sign the guy that's going to be in that position that would block him. And I'm telling you right now, and look, I've talked about all of these prospects. I'm not 100% right, but I can tell you what they do well and what they don't do well. And also, in my opinion, who has the biggest potential to be a long-term impact star. And of all these guys, it's Owen Caissie. He is great in the outfield. His routes are good. His arm's good. He's a smart player. Defensively, he's not a liability. Then you talk about him at the plate, and it's like he barrels everything up. He hasn't even grown up yet. He's still in his early, like 22, and he's like the youngest guy in the league. This will be the first time that he's had a repeat season in the same league. And I bet you that it'll translate into, when it's all said and done, great numbers for him. I don't think he'll slide. I think he'll get better. And other teams know that. Would you give up Moises Ballesteros? I would be more willing to make that trade, just because even though he's lost weight, he's doing better behind the plate, catching. I think that the upside compared to what you get from Owen Caissie just isn't as much, but I still think he's a good player. Maybe James Triantos, but it's going to take a guy like that to be the centerpiece of a trade to get an Alcantara, because they're not going to just give him away. I mean, you just don't give away Cy Young award-winning pitchers without getting prospects back. And that's how the Marlins won World Series, making deals like this. In year twice they've done it. So we'll see what happens. But do not be surprised if the Cubs don't go out and be aggressive. I've talked about it before. This is a show or go season for this front office. And this is why it's a tough job. Because if you trade Owen Caissie, you just traded away your future in right field. And even though the Cubs have some depth in that position, Kevin Alcantara is not anywhere near as good as Owen Caissie. He's just not. They're not even, to me, comparable players. I just think Owen Caissie is an elite player, and I think that that's eventually going to translate at the major league level. But if they don't think so, maybe you make that trade, because there's people like me that look at him and go, "Hey, man, this guy's the future. we'll take him," And then that's the thing. That's the business of baseball. You're always doing this. All right, second thing, the bullpen last night, Cubs in San Diego. Jameson Taillon did his thing. Cubs had the lead. It was a slim lead. And then this bullpen made up of a bunch of old timers comes in and just gets lit up again. And it's hard to watch this. But the bottom line is, and I know some of you guys have been on Craig Counsell about his management of the bullpen. I don't know that I can do that, just because you have to pitch the guys that you have. And they went out and signed all of these guys who I don't think are any good, and they're playing like they're not any good. It's like we thought, well, if somebody had a good year 5 years ago, we'll bring them in. Another bad outing for Eli Morgan, 2/3 of an inning, ripped up for 3 hits, 4 runs, and then 2 of those left the park. The scary one to me is Nate Pearson, because I thought last year we kind of got him where he was pretty decent towards the end of the season. He's off to a bad start. 0-1 record, a 10.38 ERA. He's given up, it seems like, hits and runs every time he's out there. And last night was no different. And when you look at the Cubs' options in the bullpen, those 2 guys make me nervous. Now, could Ethan Roberts possibly slide over and maybe come out of nowhere and maybe help the Cubs close games? He came in and pitched. I know that the game was over at that point, but former 4th round pick, wears the glasses. He seems to be a guy that has success, and they want him not to have success, because I'm sure somewhere on the analytic range, it's something doesn't look right, but he comes in and gets the job done. We need more Ethan Roberts and less Eli Morgans on this team. All right, let's go to this. Pete Crow-Armstrong, guys. Should the Cubs extend him? That was kind of the talk the last couple of days after the big Dodgers game, the Pete Crow-Armstrong game, 2 home runs and a triple. And pointing to his parents. And should the Cubs, this is, if you think that he's going to be a long-term player, you extend him right now, because you're going to get the best deal you're going to get. If he continues to grow and becomes the type of player that he potentially could be, then he goes to, arbitration, free agency, and all that stuff. He's going to get paid. So it's a roll of the dice. They did it with Anthony Rizzo, and it certainly paid off, because there were years where you're looking at Jason Hayward being paid like way more than Anthony Rizzo, and Rizzo way better. But because of the contracts, that's why it worked out that way. So, it's another one of those situations where this front office being on a 1-year deal, essentially, maybe puts them in a spot where, you're kind of saying, hey, you know what, do we want to give them the opportunity to sign a guy to a 1-year deal, or is this, something that the next front office should be able to do? And I think that's a fair, breakdown of this. And then finally, guys, our friend Kris Bryant, injured again. I hate to see this too. I absolutely hate to see this, because I love KB. I think we all love KB. This time he's got a degenerative back or degenerative disc disease, lumbar degenerative disc disease. And he's on the 10-day IL with that. He's on the Rockies right now. Boy, that doesn't sound good, right? Wow. He's been with the Rockies, and he's hit 17 home runs and 62 runs batted in since signing that mega deal. Somebody up there is just going, how can this guy have fallen off like this? You're talking about a rookie of the year and MVP and, all-star and all this other stuff. He just hasn't been any good since he signed with Colorado, and it's been because of injuries. He's still a legend, still helped the Cubs win the World Series, still always going to be somebody big in Chicago. but it feels like his career's coming down fast, and he's going to be out of the game with Rizzo here shortly. Is my take on this, and I wish him the very best to getting healthy. All right, guys, thanks for hanging. That's the show today. We're on the road, so doing the best we can to pop out content for you on a daily basis. I know some of you guys like this earlier in the morning. I try to get there. The issue is when they play these really late games, being able to kind of pull that together and get a little bit of rest. So for podcast sake, you're getting content, but it's a little later. But please like and subscribe, comment as well, share with your friends. Tell me what you guys think. Am I crazy on some of my thoughts? Are you with me? And we'll do it again tomorrow, but unless something breaks, maybe the Cubs make a blockbuster deal, and I'll slide on here. But anyway, thanks, guys, and go Cubs.